Verse for opening a sutra. The unsurpassed profound and wonderful Dharma is difficult to encounter in hundreds of millions of aeons. I now see and hear it, receive and uphold it, and I vow to fathom the Tathagata's true meaning. The Flower Adornment Sutra, Chapter 39, Entering the Dharma Realm, Part 1. At that time, the leaders of the great sound hearers, Shariputra, Mahamoggallana, Mahakashyapa, Revata, Subhuti, Aniruddha, Nanda, Mahakapina, Mahakatyayana, Purna, and all the other great sound hearers who were at the Jeta Grove could not perceive the thus come one's spiritual powers, the thus come one's wonderful adornments and characteristics, the thus come one's states, the thus come one's playfulness, the thus come one's spiritual transformations, the thus come one's noble supremacy, the thus come one's wonderful practices, the thus come one's awesome virtue, the thus come one's dwelling and holding, the thus come one's pure kshatriyas. Moreover, they could not perceive the inconceivable states of the bodhisattvas, the bodhisattva's great assemblies, the bodhisattva's universal entry, the bodhisattva's universal arrival, the bodhisattva's universal traveling, the bodhisattva's spiritual transformations, the bodhisattva's playfulness, the bodhisattva's retinues, the bodhisattva's places, the bodhisattvas adorned lion thrones, the bodhisattvas palaces, the bodhisattvas dwelling places, the samadhi of self-ease which the bodhisattva entered, the bodhisattva's contemplation, the bodhisattva's sprint, the bodhisattva's heroic courage, the bodhisattva's offerings, the bodhisattva's receiving of predictions, the bodhisattva's maturation, the bodhisattva's healthy courage, the purity of the bodhisattva's dharma bodies, the perfection of the bodhisattva's wisdom bodies, the manifestation of the bodhisattva's vow bodies, the accomplishment of the bodhisattva's form bodies, the bodhisattva's marks which were all replete with purity, the bodhisattva's constant light and varicolored adornments, the bodhisattva's constant emitting of the great net of brightness, the bodhisattva's giving rise to clouds of transformations, the bodhisattva's bodies that pervade the 10 directions, the bodhisattva's myriad practices coming to perfection. All of the above states were not perceived by the great sound hearer disciples. Why is this? Because their good roots were not the same. In the past, they did not practice the good roots of beholding the Buddha with self-ease. They did not praise or proclaim the merit and virtue of all pure in the Buddha Kshatriyas of the 10 directions. In the past, they did not praise the various spiritual penetration of all Buddhas, world on at once. In the past, while in the midst of birth and death, they did not bring forth the mind of Anuttara Sankhya Sambodhi. In the past, they did not cause others to dwell in the mind of Bodhi. In the past, they did not cause the thus come one seed nature to continue uninterrupted. In the past, they did not gather in all living beings. In the past, they did not exhort others to cultivate and practice the Bodhisattva paramitas. In the past, while within the flow of birth and death, they did not exhort living beings to seek the most supreme, great wisdom I. In the past, they did not cultivate the good roots of producing all wisdom. In the past, they did not accomplish the good roots of the thus come ones transcending the world. In the past, they did not attain the wisdom of spiritual penetrations, of purifying and adorning Buddha Kshatriyas. In the past, they did not attain the states that were known to the Bodhisattva's vision. In the past, they did not seek the uncommon good roots of Bodhi, which transcended the world. In the past, they did not bring forth the great vows of all bodhisattvas. In the past, they were not born from the aid of the thus come ones. In the past, they did not know that all dharmas are like an illusion, that bodhisattvas are like a dream. In the past, they did not attain the vast delight of the great bodhisattvas. All of these were states of universal worthy bodhisattvas' wisdom eye. They had nothing in common with the two vehicles. Because of such causes and conditions, all of the great sound hearers could not see, could not hear, could not enter, could not attain, could not be mindful of, could not contemplate, could not consider, could not ponder, and could not discriminate. And so although they were situated right within the Jeta grove, they could not see the great spiritual transformations of the thus come one. Moreover, because all of these sound hearers did not possess such good roots, did not possess such wisdom eye, did not possess such samadhis, did not possess such liberation, did not possess such spiritual penetrations, did not possess such awesome virtue, did not possess such strength, did not possess such self-mastery, did not possess such places of dwelling, and did not possess such states. They were therefore in this place, but could not know, could not see, could not enter, could not certify to, could not dwell, could not understand, could not contemplate, could not endure, could not tend toward, could not roam within it. Moreover, they could not vastly elucidate, explain, proclaim, advocate, or manifest, guide, or exhort others' progress, causing them to tend toward, causing them to practice and cultivate, causing them to dwell peacefully within, or causing them to certify to and enter. Why is this? Because all these great disciples had relied on the sound hearer vehicle to escape. They had accomplished the sound hearer's path. They had perfected the sound hearer's conduct. They had peacefully dwelt in the sound hearer's fruition and obtained fixed wisdom. From the truth of non-existence, constantly dwelling in the reality limit and ultimate stillness and quietude, they were far removed from great compassion. They forsake living beings and dwell in their own affairs. With regard to others' wisdom, they could not accumulate it, could not cultivate it, could not dwell peacefully within it, could not seek it with their vows, could not accomplish it, could not purify it, could not tend toward and enter it, could not penetrate it, could not know or see it, could not certify to and attain it, which is why, even though they were inside the Jeta grove, coming face to face with the thus come one, they could not behold such vast, great spiritual penetrations. Disciples of the Buddha, it is like all along the shores of the river Ganges, there were hundreds, thousands, tens of millions of hungry ghosts who are all naked, hungry, and thirsty. Their entire bodies are scorched and blazing. Ravens, eagles, and wolves all rush to seize and grab them. These ghosts are oppressed by great thirst and wish for water to drink. Yet although they live right by the side of the river, they cannot see the river. And if they do see the river, upon seeing the river will dry up. Why is this? This is due to the covering by the deep and heavy karmic obstacles. All the sound hearers were the same way. Although they dwelt in the midst of the Jeta grove, they could not see the thus come one's vast, great spiritual powers. This is because they had renounced all wisdom, and their eyes were covered by the cataract of ignorance. It is also because they had not planted the good roots of the grounds of sarvajna. It is as when there is a person within the assembly who is sound asleep and who suddenly dreams of seeing on the summit of Mount Sumeru, the great city of good view, where Lord Chakra dwells. He dreams of palaces, groves, parklands, and all sorts of ornaments, also of gods and goddesses, hundreds of thousands or millions of them, who are universally scattering heavenly flowers that cover the ground. All sorts of trees of garments sprout forth wonderful robes, all sorts of blossoming trees that burst forth in luxuriant bloom. All sorts of musical trees are playing heavenly music. All the heavenly maidens chant in sonorous choruses, and an immeasurable number of gods are playing and frolicking in the midst of this. This person sees himself dressed in heavenly robes, universally traveling to all these places, stopping and mingling among them. All of the other people within the great assembly, although in the same place, do not know of or see these things. Why is this? Because what is seen in the dream is not something that the great assembly can behold. All bodhisattvas and kings of the world are just like this. They have long accumulated the power of good roots. They have brought forth vast great vows of all wisdom. They have studied the merit and virtue of all Buddhas. They have cultivated the adorned path of a bodhisattva. They have perfected the wisdom Dharma of all wisdom. They have perfected all the conduct and vows of universal worthy. They have entered the wisdom grounds of all bodhisattvas. They have playfully roamed in the samadhis in which all bodhisattvas dwell. They can contemplate all of the bodhisattva states of wisdom without any obstruction. For such reasons, all of them behold the world on at once, inconceivable spiritual transformations of self-ease. All the great disciples the sound hearers could not see, could not know, because they lacked the bodhisattva's pure eyes. It is as in the snowy mountains where there is a multitude of medicinal herbs. A good physician who goes there can distinguish all of them. Yet the hunters and herdsmen who constantly dwell on the mountain cannot see the medicine. This is just the same way. All of the bodhisattvas enter the states of wisdom, become replete with the power of self-mastery, and can perceive the thus come one's great spiritual transformations. However, all of the great disciples knew only of benefiting themselves and did not wish to benefit others, seeking only for their own tranquility. They did not wish for others' tranquility, which is why, although they were right inside the grove, they could not know or see. It is as in the center of the earth. There are many jewel caches, which are filled with all sorts of valuable and rare gems. There is a great hero, wise and understanding, well adept at discriminating all the hidden caches. This person possesses the power of great blessings and virtue, and according to his wishes can choose whatever he liked to make offerings to, provide for his parents, and to foster his retinue, the aged, sick, and impoverished, all of whom he supplies equally. Whereas a person of no wisdom, lacking in blessings and virtue, although he may go to the jewel caches, will still not know of them, not see them, or obtain their benefits. This is just the same way. The great bodhisattvas obtain and possess the pure wisdom eye. They can enter into the thus come one's inconceivable, profound states. They can see the Buddha's spiritual powers. They can enter into all Dharma doors. They can course in the seas of samadhis. They can make offerings to the Buddhas. They can use the proper Dharma to enlighten living beings. They can use the four Dharmas of attraction together in living beings. All the great sound hearers could not see the thus come one's spiritual powers, nor could they see the bodhisattva assemblies. It is as when the blind man arrives at a great jeweled continent, but whether walking, standing, sitting, or reclining, He cannot see all the treasures. Because he cannot see them, he cannot collect them or make use of them. It was just the same way with the great disciples. Although they were situated within the growth and drew near to the world-honored one, they could not see the thus-come one's spiritual powers of self-mastery, nor could they see the great assembly of bodhisattvas. Why is this? Because they lack the bodhisattva's unobstructed pure eyes and could not respectfully enlighten to and enter into the Dharma realm and behold the thus-come one's self-mastery. It is as when someone had obtained the pure eye called light of living filth. None of the dark shadowy places can obstruct him. Then if this person is situated in a dark or shadowy place in the midst of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, whether he be walking, standing, sitting, or reclining, there is none of these people's shapes or forms or comportments that this bright-eyed person cannot see. But as to this bright-eyed person's own comportment and his comings and goings, there is not one of these people who can perceive them. The Buddha is the same way. In accomplishing the pure unobstructed wisdom eye, he can clearly see all worlds, the spiritual penetrations, changes and transformations, and the assembly of great bodhisattvas who surround him. All the great disciples could not see any of these. It is as when there are bhikshus within the great assembly who enter into the all-pervasive samadhis, specifically the all-pervasive earth samadhi, the all-pervasive water samadhi, the all-pervasive fire samadhi, the all-pervasive wind samadhi, the all-pervasive blue samadhi, the all-pervasive yellow samadhi, the all-pervasive red samadhi, the all-pervasive white samadhi, the all-pervasive heaven samadhi, the all-pervasive samadhi of various living beings' bodies, the all-pervasive samadhi of all languages and sounds, and the all-pervasive samadhi of that which is conditioned. Those who enter these samadhis can perceive these conditions, but the rest of the great assembly cannot see any of these, with the exception of others who are also dwelling in these samadhis. The inconceivable states of the Buddha, manifested by the thus-come one, are just like this. All of the bodhisattvas could behold them, but the sound hearers could not perceive them. It is as when there is a person who smears a portion of invisibility on his own eyes, so that in the assembly, in his comings and goings, sitting or standing, no one can see him, and yet he can see all that happens within the assembly. You should know that the thus-come one is just like this. He has transcended the world, and yet universally sees the world. None of sound hearers could perceive any of this. Only the bodhisattvas who tend toward the states of all wisdom can see. It is as when there is a person who from the time of his birth is accompanied by two gods. One of them is called like birth, the other is called like name. The gods can always see the person, but the person cannot see the gods. You should know that the thus-come one is just like this. Within the great assemblies of bodhisattvas, he manifested vast spiritual penetrations, and the great sound hearers could not behold any of this. It is as when there is a bhikshu who, upon attaining the self-mastery of his own mind, enters into the samadhi of extinction. The karma of his 6 organs is inactive, and he is unaware of all language and speech. Due to the aid of samadhi, he does not enter into parinirvana. All the sound hearers were like this. Although they dwelt at the Jeta grove and were replete with the 6 organs, they could not know, could not see, could not understand, could not enter into the Thus Come One's self-mastery and all of the Bodhisattva's assemblies. Why is this? The Thus Come One state is very profound, vast and great, difficult to see, difficult to know, difficult to gauge, difficult to measure. Transcending all worlds, it is inconceivable. It cannot be destroyed, and it is not the state of any of the two vehicles. That is why the Thus Come One spiritual powers of self-mastery, the Bodhisattva assemblies, and the Jeta growth, universally pervaded everywhere throughout all the pure worlds, and yet none of these events could be known or seen by the great sound hearers. They were beyond their capacity. At this time, Vairocana Valbragnas Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses. You should contemplate the inconceivable Buddha way. Inside this Jeta growth, the power of spiritual penetrations appears. The awesome spiritual strength of the well-gone one manifests that which is without measure. All of those in the world are confused, deluded, they cannot understand. The Dharma King's profound, wonderful Dharma is measureless, hard to conceive. The spiritual penetrations which he manifests, none in the world can fathom. He understands that dharmas are without a mark, which is why he is called the Buddha. He is replete with adorning characteristics. His praises and proclamations are without exhaustion. And now, within this growth, he manifests vast spiritual powers. Profound he is to depths without bounds, and that which words cannot dispute. Contemplate those of great awesome virtue, measureless bodhisattvas assemblies who, from countries in the 10 directions, have come to behold the world-honored one. Their vows are all completed, their practices unobstructed. In all the world, none can gauge or measure them. All the ones enlightened to conditions and the great sound hearers cannot know of this state of the Bodhisattva's practices. The Bodhisattva's great wisdom is the ultimate state of all the grounds, loftily erecting the banners of courage. Invincible they are hard to move. These knights of great renown, with power of measureless samadhi, manifest spiritual transformations which fill up all of the Dharma realm. At that time, indestructible vigor King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, Contemplate all the Buddha's disciples, treasuries of wisdom and meritorious virtue. Having reached the ultimate of Bodhi's practices, they bring peace and calm to all worlds. Their minds, inherently bright and understanding, are adept at entering the samadhis. Their wisdom is boundless, their states immeasurable. And now, within the Jeta growth, with everything adorned, cloud-like assemblies of bodhisattvas gather, drawing near to the Thus Come One's dwelling. Contemplate their non-attachment, these measureless oceans of great assemblies, arriving from the 10 directions. They are seated upon jeweled lotus thrones, with no coming and no dwelling, no relying and no idle dispute. Living filth, their minds are unobstructed. They are ultimate in the Dharma realm. Erecting the banner of wisdom, firm, solid, and unmoving, they know that dharmas are without transformation, and yet manifest events of transformations. From the measureless kshetriyas of the 10 directions, from all of the Buddha's places, simultaneously they arrive, and yet do not divide their bodies. Contemplate the lion Shakyamuni, his power of self-ease and spiritual penetrations. who can cause the bodhisattva's multitudes to assemble all together. All of the Buddha Dharma is level and equal in the Dharma realm. The words and speech are different. This assembly penetrates them all. The Buddhas always peacefully dwell in the Dharma realm's limit of equality, proclaiming a variety of dharmas. Their words and languages have no exhaustion. At the time, Universal Supreme Unsurpassed Awesome Virtue King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, "Contemplate the unsurpassed Knight, whose vast, great perfect wisdom is adept at knowing what is the right time and what is not, as he proclaims the Dharma for the multitudes. He conquers and subdues the external paths and all their bizarre theories, universally according with living beings' minds. He manifests the power of spiritual penetrations. Proper enlightenment has no measure, yet it is not without a measure. Whether it has measure or no measure, the Muni has transcended it entirely. As the sun in empty space illumines all places, so too the Buddha's wisdom penetrates the dharmas of the 3 periods of time. As on the night of the 15th of the month, the moon has no defect. The dusk come one too is just this way. His pristine dharmas are all perfected. As the sun in the sky, which courses along without a moment's hesitation, the dusk come one too is just like this. His spiritual changes are eternally continuous. The kshatriyas of the 10 directions are unobstructed emptiness, yet the Lamb of the world makes appear transformations. In the world, it is like this too. As the earth of the world is a place of reliance for the multitudes, the Dharma wheel of the Lamb that illumines the world serves as a reliance in the same way. As a strong swift wind whips along unobstructed, so too does the Buddha Dharma quickly pervade the world. As a great water wheel is what the world relies and dwells on, the wisdom wheel in the same way is that on which the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time rely. At that time, unobstructed Supreme Treasury King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, "As a great jewel mountain benefits all sentient beings, the Buddha mountain is this way too. It universally benefits the world. As a great ocean water is, lucid, pure, and without filth or mud, to see the Buddha is like this too. It purges one of all thirsty love. As Mount Sumeru rises from the great ocean, the world's lamp is like this. It arises from the Dharma sea. As the ocean is replete with various jewels, which satisfy all seekers, wisdom not requiring a teacher is the same way. The beholder can become enlightened. The dusk come one's most profound wisdom is measureless and incalculable. Therefore, this power of spiritual penetration can manifest the inconceivable. As a skilled illusionist can manifest a myriad phenomena, so too the Buddha's wisdom manifests the power of all self-mastery. As the as-you-will gem can fulfill all wishes, the Most Supreme One is also able to fulfill all vows of purity. As a bright pure jewel can universally illumine all things, the Buddha's wisdom also in this way universally illumines all creatures' minds. As an 8-faceted jewel can equally reflect all directions, the unobstructed lamp in this way universally illumines the Dharma realm. As a water-clearing pearl can clarify all turbid water. To see the Buddha is the same way. All of one's organs are purified. At that time, transformationally manifesting Dharma realm Vow Moon King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, "As the imperial blue gem can turn all colors blue, those who see the Buddha in the same way all resolve on Bodhi's practice. In every single dust mote, the Buddha manifests the power of spiritual penetrations, causing measureless and boundless bodhisattvas to be purified. This profound, subtle, wonderful power, boundless and unknowable, is a state of the bodhisattvas which none in the world can fathom. The manifestation of the Tathagata's body is an appearance pure and adorned. He universally enters the Dharma realm and brings all bodhisattvas to accomplishment. Within inconceivable Buddha lands, realizing proper enlightenment, are all of the bodhisattvas and world hosts filling them up. Shakyamuni, unsurpassed honored one, is at ease with all dharmas. He manifests the strength of spiritual penetrations, which are boundless and measureless. All of the bodhisattvas' conduct are measureless and without end. By the strength of the Tathagata's self-sufficiency, he appears for their sakes. The Buddha's disciples are adept at cultivating and learning in all profound Dharma realms. They achieve unobstructed wisdom and understand all dharmas. The well-gone one's awesome spiritual power turns the Dharma wheel for beings. His spiritual changes universally pervade and purify the world. The Tathagata's wisdom is perfect. His states are also pure. Like a great dragon king, he universally aids all beings. At that time, Dharma wisdom blazing like King Bodhisattva, aided by the spiritual power of the Buddha, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, "As to the Tathagatas in the 3 periods, none of the sound hearer disciples can know of the Buddha's lifting or setting down his foot. And in the past, present, and future realms, all the conditionally enlightened ones also will not know of the Tathagatas lifting or setting down his foot. How much the less would common mortals, fettered by the knots and servants, whose mind's consciousness is covered by ignorance, know of the guiding master? His proper enlightenment and unimpeded wisdom surpass the paths of languages. Their measure cannot be fathomed. Who is able to know and see them? Like the bright moonlight, whose boundaries none can survey, so too is the Buddha's power. Its end cannot be seen. Each of the expedient means transformed at every thought, reaching to limitless kalpas, is not known through consideration. Meditating on all wisdom and these inconceivable dharmas, as to each of the doors of expedience, their bounds cannot be attained. If regarding these dharmas one brings forth vast great vows, then as to these states, to know and see them will not be difficult. Courageously and diligently cultivating the seeds of inconceivable great Dharma, his mind is without obstruction, and he enters these doors of expedience. His mind and will are subdued, his aspirations broad and extensive. He will obtain great Bodhi, that most supreme of states. At that time, smashing all demon armies, wisdom banner King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, "The wisdom body is not this body. It is unobstructed, hard to imagine. If it could be imagined, then in all things it would be unsurpassed. From inconceivable karma, this pure body arises, a supreme wonderful adornment. It's unattached to the three realms. Its light illumines all things. The Dharma realm is purified, disclosing the Buddha's door of Bodhi. It brings forth all wisdom. Like the sun in the world, it universally emits light wisdom. Far apart from dust and filth, it destroys all obstructions. It universally cleanses the three realms of existence and forever severs the flow of birth and death. In accomplishing the Bodhi way, one brings forth the unsurpassed enlightenment. He manifests boundless forms, yet these forms rely on no place. Although their appearances are limitless, they are completely inconceivable. In a single instant of Bodhi, one can awaken to all dharmas. How can one hope to fathom the scope of the Tathagata's wisdom? In one thought, he completely understands all dharmas of the three periods. Thus one says that the Buddha's wisdom is without end and indestructible. Wise ones should in such a way single-mindedly contemplate the Buddha's Bodhi. This contemplation is hard to imagine. It cannot be attained through thinking. Bodhi is ineffable. The way of enlightenment is unutterable, surpassing the paths of language. All Buddhas are born from this. This Dharma is hard to conceive. At that time, Vow Wisdom Bright Banner King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, if one can well contemplate the limitless sea of Bodhi, one can leave stupid thoughts and decisively receive and uphold the Dharma. Upon obtaining a decisive mind, one can cultivate wonderful practices. In the stillness of dhyana, meditating by oneself, one forever severs all doubts and delusions. His mind is not weary, nor is he lax or lazy. Ever increasing in progress and cultivation, he perfects all Buddha dharmas. The wisdom of faith is accomplished. Thought after thought it grows. He always delights in and contemplates the Dharma which cannot be attained and which has no reliance. In measureless millions of thousands of kalpas, the practices of merit and virtue he cultivated, all of these he transfers to the way sought by all Buddhas. Although he dwells in birth and death, his mind is not defiled or attached. Peacefully he dwells in all Buddha dharmas and always delights in the Tathagata's practices. Of all existences in the world, the skandhas, the realms, and such dharmas, all of this he leaves behind and solely seeks the Buddha's merit and virtue. Common mortals have infantile false delusions. Constantly they turn and flow in the world. The Bodhisattva's mind is unobstructed. He relieves them to bring about their liberation. The Bodhisattva practices are hard to appraise. In all the worlds it is impossible to imagine how he pervasively relieves all anguish and universally bestows joy upon all beings. Having obtained Bodhi's wisdom, again he pities the multitudes. His light illumines the world and crosses over all creatures. At that time, smashing all obstructions, courageous wisdom king Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, in measureless millions of thousands of kalpas, the Buddha's name is hard to hear. How much the more to draw near him and forever sever all doubts and delusion. The Tathagata, Lamb of the world, penetrates all dharmas. Universally, he gives rise to blessings of the three periods and causes living beings to be purified. The Tathagata's wonderful form body is admired and praised by all. Through millions of kalpas, he always gazes up reverently at him. Their minds never feel sated. If they are Buddha's disciples who contemplate this wonderful form body, they will most certainly renounce all attachments to existence and make transferences to Bodhi's way. The Tathagata's wonderful form body forever proclaims the vast great sound. His eloquence is unimpeded in disclosing the door to Bodhi. He awakens all living beings, limitlessly and inconceivably, enabling them to enter wisdom's gate and bestows on them Bodhi's prediction. The Tathagata appears in the world as his great field of blessings. He universally guides all sentient beings to gather blessings in their practices. Those who make offerings to the Buddhas forever leave the fear of evil paths. They destroy all suffering and accomplish the wisdom body. Upon seeing the doubly fulfilled Honored One, they can bring forth a vast great mind. Such people always see the Buddha and grow in wisdom power. Upon seeing the most supreme one in all of humankind, decisively they resolve on Bodhi. Then each person himself knows that for certain he will attain proper enlightenment. At that time, Dharma realm's various spiritual penetrations, King Bodhisattva, aided by the Buddha's spiritual power, contemplated the 10 directions and spoke verses saying, Shakyamuni, unsurpassed Honored One, is replete with all merit and virtue. The beholder's mind is purified and makes transferences towards great wisdom. The Tathagata, great, kind, compassionate One, appears in the world and universally for all creatures turns the peerless Dharma wheel. The Tathagata in innumerable kalpas diligently toils for living beings. How can those in the world repay our great teacher's kindness? I would rather for measureless kalpas endure the suffering of the evil paths than to ever forsake the Tathagata to seek escape from this. I would rather for living beings' sake take on all suffering than to ever renounce the Buddha to seek security and bliss. I'd rather stay in the evil destinies and forever hear the Buddha's name than to be born in good paths and for a moment not hear of the Buddha. I'd rather be born in the hells, in each one of them for innumerable aeons, and never be afar from the Buddha or seek to leave the evil destinies. Why would I rather dwell for a long time in all of the evil paths so as to see the Tathagata and so that my wisdom will increase and grow? Upon seeing the Buddha, all suffering is destroyed, and one can enter into the Tathagata's states of great wisdom. If one gets to see the Buddha, one leaves behind all obstruction. One forever nurtures endless blessings and accomplishes the Bodhi way. The Tathagata can forever sever all the doubts of living beings. According to their delight, universally he satisfies them all.